Hey, how's it going? It's Paul Seaver again, Palm Beach Springs Water Company. Before I get started working for the day, I just felt like making a little video here, but I think I'm coming in a little dark on this one. Anyway, I noticed on the news this morning, they're talking about, their big kick now because they got this nice digital representation of after you flush a commercial toilet, fecal matter, and air droplets, water droplets going up as high as 5-6 feet up in the air. Okay, ain't no new that's no new news. Maybe it is for some people, but for a lot of people it's no new news. There's a lot of people like myself that you can't pay me to use a commercial bathroom. You just can't. I don't really consider myself to be an over-the-top germaphobe, but I don't think you have to be to stay out of public restrooms. They're just filthy, nasty places. There's no way they can keep them clean. Unfortunately, the majority of people are just slobs. They go in there and they do things and get the hell back out of there because they don't want to be in there, but they leave everybody else with their garbage. So, bottom line, I stay out of commercial bathrooms anyway. But here's the thing. It brings up a good point about how things become airborne, and even so much as flushing a toilet being able to become airborne. I heard that doctor on Fox this morning that said, well, here's a good thing for you to do. How about closing the lid? Okay, well, I guess he doesn't use commercial bathrooms either, because if he did, he would know commercial bathrooms don't have no dang lids closed. So they just got that seat that pop up and down, of course, but they don't have no lids. That's only in your house. Your house is low flow, so I don't think you have as much of a problem there. But it doesn't matter. Let's just, for argument's sake, we'll just say that you do. It doesn't matter what toilet it is. Doesn't matter it's even the sink. You got bacteria and stuff coming out of your sink, coming out of your sink drains. You got stuff coming from all over the place. You open and close your door. Your animals come in and out from outside. Children, everything, you name it. There's all sorts of contamination coming within your controlled environment. So, what's the answer? I have my answer. My answer is pH3 Ocean Mist. Number one, for doing all your cleaning. It's non-toxic. It's not a pesticide. Can't get a registration from the EPA. Why? Because the EPA only registers things that are harmful. A lot of people don't understand that. They think that the EPA regulates effectiveness. No, they don't. What they do, if you are required to have an EPA registration, it's because it's harmful to humans. Okay? And the registration, and then depending on what you're using it for, to go to different guideline, either health, food, or agriculture, right? So then you'll have USDA, EPA, USDA, FDA, what the health department thing, I forget. But anyway, they'll all have their own guidelines on it. But you'll already have a registration as a pesticide. Then you have to get a GRAS, generally accepted as safe, way to use it, to say safe to use as directed. Okay, so you don't have none of those problems with this. This is not a pesticide. Okay, so it can't hurt you, but it's still chlorine. Okay, this is organochlorine made from sodium chloride and electrochemistry only. No combination of salts. It's not hyperchlorous acid. It's not hyperchlorite. It's not hydrochloric acid. It's none of those things. It's organochlorine. So you check the chlorine in it the same way that you check chlorine in anything with chlorine checker. So this checks total chlorine, not just available chlorine. And we'll get into that in a second. So the chlorine checker tells you your parts per million, how strong you are. So there's no regulation on this chlorine, but what we do is we keep it down within the same ranges as what's generally accepted for hyperchlorous acid and those kind of things. Because otherwise you end up having to explain everything to everybody all the time. It's easier just to so it don't matter. We don't even have to be this strong. We could be much lighter than this. But anyway, that's the solution that we're using. It's a neutral ion. Okay, so that's pretty special. So there's no pH. It's just neutral. So pH is measured the difference between an acidic and a basic ion and the power of which, the influence of hydrogen over reactive oxygen. So you don't have that in here. The ORP in this is neutral also. It's non-corrosive, non-oxidizing. The pH, if it had a pH, the pH would be around 7.4. That's why it's not a pesticide. As far as the EPA is considered, this is harmless. Absolutely 100% harmless, and they don't consider it to be effective at being able to kill. Now, when they talk about kill, they're talking about killing humans. Okay? So that's that. So what do you do with it? All right, so you can clean with it. You can do whatever you want with it as far as that goes. It's an organochlorine organochlorine cleaner. So now let's say you want to clean the air. Okay, so this is very unique to this product. Because this is non-corrosive and non-oxidizing, you could put it in an ultrasonic humidifier. Because it has an ionic product of 6.45 being a single molecule, single ion, it releases as a single ion aerosol. It'll be the smallest particle in the room at 0.001 micron. How do you like that? Everything else is larger than this. Nothing can hide from this. Okay? You're flooding the room with an infinite amount of ions. And so all the ions hold the same charge, so they can't cluster together. They repel each other, so it pushes itself everywhere. I have it turned down. We can turn it up here. You see, that's what's coming out. And it's perfectly safe. Look at it. You can put your face in it. You can breathe it. You could do whatever you want to. Not going to hurt you. Okay, so the only solution that I know of, let me turn this the other way. The only solution that I know of that you can use in a room to clean the air with people present. Okay? This ORP from this is actually antioxidizing. It's in a negative state because it's releasing a bunch of hydrogen in the room rather than a reactive oxygen. So this solution doesn't use reactive oxygen whatsoever. You know, like hypochlorous acid uses reactive oxygen. So this solution here just uses the organochlorine and the ionic product. So reactive oxygen, usually what it does is it burns a hole in the membrane so the hypochlorous acid's chlorine can pass by. So we don't have to do that because we have ionic product. So we won't get into that whole thing because it gets too technical. But the bottom line is this stuff right here, I got it turned up just so you can see it. But normally you don't want to see it. You turn it way down and you just let it run in the background. Just way down, nice and slow. And it's just flooding your room with these ions. And these ions are finding all those particulates. And the electrical charge in these ions is making those other particulates bind together. Because it's much stronger. It's got 10,000 times the power that they do. So, that's because of the amperage applied. We apply 10,000 times the power. So it binds everything together, and so then once all these particles start to go together, they can't suspend in the air as aerosols anymore, and they start dropping to the surface. And you'll see it, because once you, like if you start to clean a room that's never been cleaned before, the older the room, the dirtier the air. You know, people don't realize that. Once you drop everything out of the air onto the surfaces and clean it up, and that's where you use this to clean it up in a spray bottle. So it's heavy enough where usually when you're cleaning, everything just goes back into the air again. So it'll stay on the surface, and then you just mist it a little bit, obviously to keep it wet, and you just pick it up. So that's it. And you know, when we first started using this was when the restaurants were trying to open up after COVID. How long are we running here? Well, we're not doing too bad. This ain't too long of a video. So when the restaurants first started to open up after COVID, they all had to have a cleaning plan in place. And so there was a scramble for restaurants to find applicators and to find solutions that were going to be approved for them to open a restaurant. I don't want to use any hot language here. So I have to keep myself out of trouble because I manufacture the product and put a label on it. They really are tough on me about this. Okay, so everybody was using these electrostatic applicators and all that other kind of garbage, and it's all gimmick-ass crap. Everybody knows now. They pay big bucks for it. People were paying $800-900 for an applicator that should have cost them 20 bucks. 20 bucks. Unbelievable. The kind of advantage people were taking. So we were trying to find all different ways to do things. Heck, we even got mosquito foggers. Brand new, never had no chemical in it. We put our stuff in there because heat doesn't bother it. But it was no good. It didn't work. It's not the way it was. So anyway, when we were checking that out, you know, the owner of the restaurant that we were at, she says, what would happen if we put it in a humidifier? That would flood the room, wouldn't it? And I thought, hey, that's an interesting idea. So then, you know, I went to work on looking at humidifiers and stuff and seeing what kind of humidifier could we use. And I came across the Ultrasonics, and I thought, ooh, wait a minute. Now this is very interesting right here because this works all off of electrical frequency. Our products work off of electric frequency. The thing about the frequency of this turns everything neutral. It is neutral. These two things are compatible. Light bulb went off. Put this in this. Turn it on. Let it flood the room. The rest is history. So other people have tried, other people have claimed this method. We're the ones that came up with it, and I know the person Kim Byron is the one whose idea it was. It wasn't even my idea, it was her idea. I just perfected it. I just came up with the way to actually do it, but it was her idea. So these other people, they try to do this, but their solutions are oxidizing or corrosive, and they tear these units up. They don't last for nothing. This unit right here, 4 years old. One of the first units I bought, original units that I bought. You gotta clean it out every once in a while. If you don't overfill it, there's a little tube up here. And if you get water down that tube, you'll blow the unit. It doesn't matter if it's my solution or regular water. That's just the units themselves. But as long as you use it correctly and you clean it from time to time, because you got to wipe it out a little bit here and there. This one's 4 years old. 4 years old. Cost me 50 bucks at Walmart. Not big money. This, I'll ship to you. 12 bucks a gallon. 12 bucks a gallon, 50 bucks for the unit. Keep your air clean in your house. Cut down on your allergy triggers. Cut down on your asthma triggers. Cut down on your... I'm not really a big buyer in this whole thing. Airborne fecal material. Honestly, I think we got a lot bigger fish to fry than what could possibly come out of the toilet when you flush it in your home. But, you know, for people who are concerned about that, and like I said, you won't catch me in a commercial bathroom, but my own bathroom at my house I'm not too concerned about. And I do close the lid. So, I grew up with sisters, right? Anyway, so, that's it. If that is one of your concerns, along with a lot of... And let me tell you something. You want to know how good this stuff is? Have it running in your home and cook fish. Nothing will prove how good this stuff is like running it in your home while you're cooking fish in your house. That smell of the fish. Now, while you're cooking the fish, obviously, as the odors are coming off the fish, you can smell fish, but it's not like smelling fish cooking it in your house. Nothing like it. And this, the best thing to clean any kind of food with, period. That's what this is originally engineered for, is for cleaning food, because it's non-oxidizing and non-corrosive, and it has no chemicals and no chemical residue and no hazards to humans. This you can clean food with without oxidizing the food. So it just goes all the way down the line. We could go on and on and on, but really what the video really about this morning is really just about aerosols. You know, how can you clean your air with an aerosol, not an aerosol can of Lysol, oh yuck, or not stupid Febreze plug-ins. That's not cleaning your air. None of that stuff is cleaning your air. This will make your home smell fresh and clean. You can't put any scents in here. You can't put any organic oils or anything that makes any sense, smell sense. You got, because it'll destabilize the organochlorine. So you have to leave it alone. But what it's, in the end, what it smells is just fresh and clean. It doesn't smell like chlorine bleach. Let's get that point across right now. Your sinuses aren't going to hurt. You're not going to have any sensitivity to it. You don't have to build up a tolerance to it. It's not, I'm sorry, get out of the fog. It's not that kind. So what people don't understand about chlorine bleach is this. Chlorine bleach is not just chlorine. So chlorine bleach is hyperchlorite chlorine, like you put in your swimming pool, mixed with sodium hydroxide lye, drain cleaner. You mix those two things together, that's how you get chlorine bleach. So the sodium hydroxide lye fuming off with the chlorine hyperchlorite is what causes your sinuses to start to break down. So it's melting your sinuses. That's why it gives you that nasty feeling. That's your body telling you, get the hell out of that environment. It's no good for you. That's destroying your membranes of your cells. That's why it smells like that. So it's all the chemical residue is getting caught up in there. So this, though, for the type of chlorine that it is, you have to remember chemical chlorines mimic organochlorines. So hyperchlorite is the closest comparison for this is hyperchlorite, because this stores chlorine. So it's very special. When you make organochlorine in a high amp dual polarity electrochemistry chamber using neutral technology, you're actually storing chlorine with hydroxide. So not hydroxide like sodium hydroxide, chemical EPA stuff. We're talking about when you electrolyze salt, you have two sides of the salt. You have an acidic side and you have a basic side. On one side, you're making reactive oxygens and organochlorines and stuff like that. And on the other side, you're making hydrogen and hydroxide and all those other things. So when you're making chlorine gas on the low end with your anode, and you're making hydrogen with your cathode at the same time, so you're making a low acidic chlorine with hydroxide. When the two of them come together, they store together. So that's usually at 10.5 pH for hyperchlorite. But the way we do it, we can dial the pH in. I could take it all the way up to 10.5 with a super concentrate, or I could drop it down to 7.4 like this on a ready to use, dialed in for the same pH as the human body, so it's completely non-toxic. So this isn't a concentrate, this is ready to use. So that's, that's getting probably a little too technical on it, but that's what it is. This is all electrochemistry, it's all high-tech stuff. It's not mixing salts together, it's increasing the potential of a safe salt using electricity, if that makes sense. So there you go. So anybody who would like to try this product, I think you really like it. You just go to, Walmart or whatever, and I don't own any stock and I don't get any money from Home Medics. But honestly, I think this is the best unit for my product, and the reason why, they don't have any metal parts. Everything is plastic. So this is still salt water, okay? So over time, if you have something, once it comes out, and something can have little metal tops and stuff like that, it's going to turn green and stuff because it's all cheap metal. So, but it's all plastic. But when it releases in your home, it's not gonna destroy anything. That's different than keeping the liquid solution before it's released. That's different. Okay, so when it's released in your house, it's not going to corrode anything whatsoever. It's not going to damage anything. When you use it as a cleaner and you spray it on a surface and you wipe it off, it's not going to damage not one single surface. Now, if you have bare metal and you pour it on the bare metal and you don't wipe it off, when the chlorine destabilizes and turns back into sodium chloride, then of course it would rust that metal. That's a given. So, but that's, when you're using it, you're supposed to wipe it up. You're not supposed to, pour it out on top of something. So, but other than that, it won't harm any surfaces whatsoever. So, and there's no hazards, there's no hazardous fumes. If a child, I really don't see it happening because it tastes like salt water, okay? But if a child or maybe a mentally challenged person or something were to grab a hold of it and drink it, no special actions required. It's just going to turn back into salt water. The TDS on it is about 4,500 parts per million. So it's pretty salty. It's not like the ocean, but you know, it's pretty salty. If you compare it to a glass of water, you won't like it. So, but it's completely harmless is the point. 100% complete. You could drink this whole gallon. It's not going to hurt you. You ain't going to like it. No one's going to drink that whole gallon of it anyway. But I'm just saying, you know, if someone was to get a hold of it, take a swig of it, spill on them. Okay, here it is. Let me show you. So you definitely wouldn't do this with bleach, that's for sure. I just put a little bit in there so you can see I just filled it all up with this. Okay, we already checked it, but I'm going to just prove. Okay, sticking my chlorine strip in the bottle. Okay, there's the chlorine. Put the sprayer on. All right, see this? In my eyes. See that? Nothing. In my mouth. Nothing. Harmless. Come here, buddy. Come here. My awesome little buddy that I wouldn't hurt for nothing in the world because I love him. I spray it all over him. Keeps them nice and clean. Keeps their fur nice and healthy. Oh my gosh, I got this all over me. That is a safe solution. Completely harmless. If you have burns, I can't say that. Okay, I'll get myself in trouble. So anyway, very good stuff. If you're worried about your air quality in your home, get yourself a ultrasonic humidifier. Get yourself a little pH3 Ocean Mist. You know, I'm more than happy to ship it to you anywhere. If you're in Florida, most of the time, depending on where you are, I'll probably deliver it to you. And you'll be happy with it. That's all I can tell you. So, keep your air clean. Keep the pesticides out of your lungs. Adios.